All right, friends, it's T-Man. We are back with the Bumbleclot himself, JasonBlaha, the strength and fitness dude, man. We're going to do a reaction video to the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, TRT, steroid slave, you name it, fitness slave, whatever, recruiting slave. JasonBlaha. Blaha says, body part splits are great for longevity under the barbell. Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do here, but he always misconstrued this growth with barbell lifting and a bunch of stuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but whatever. Let's react to this video.
All right, let's talk about body part splits and why I support them these days. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And
before I go on, somebody just wrote me in a comment section on one of the videos that I did just a bit ago on JasonBlaha. He said, I think he said to me that I made up something about the past people drinking milk or something like that. Dude, I'm basing it on my experience. I said in the video that I drank a lot of milk. So I'm basing it off my experience, and then I'm reflecting. It's my opinion that these people that were living a long time ago, like the Mongols, which they claim they drank a lot of milk because they weren't eating a lot of animal. They weren't stopping and slaughtering animals nonstop along the way and eating animal. Unless, of course, they dried the meat, okay, or they salted it. I don't know. It's really hard to say. But I would say the majority of their diet was milk, because a majority of the people's diets today is milk. Milk and cereal. Cereal and milk. Milk. Tons of milk and cereal. They're not eating meat all day, but they definitely are eating meat. Because if they don't, they'll die. So based on my experience, yes. How am I able to find the answers and show them to you? It's really easy. It's based on my experience. That's why you can't find the answers. That's why there's no channel like my channel out there, because they've never experienced getting adaptation after adaptation. That's why I'm able to explain it to you and find the fucking answers and then post them constantly, because they can't. They don't post them. They can't, because they don't have the experience. They lack it. They're lifting slaves, dude. Get it?
when we talk about body part splits, we mean training a muscle once a week. This was the most popular way for bodybuilders and actually just gym goers.
Yeah, body splits. We're going to train a muscle once a week. To do what? To get better at lifting? See what I mean? What are you training a body part for? What's the purpose? So it could do magic tricks? Like, why are you training? Why are you splitting it up? See what I mean? If you're an experienced lifter, you know exactly why you're splitting body parts up. They don't work in bodybuilding. You don't split body parts up because of the adaptation process. That's the reason why you don't split them up, because there's zero adaptations there in cellular muscular adaptations. Okay, dude? So you don't do that unless you are trying to get better at lifting a weight, and splitting it up doesn't work like that. They don't get better. That's why they referred back to doing powerlifting, because all body parts are being used to lift that weight. Yeah. So they're all going to move in unison.
General to train for at least 20.
The whole point about isolation movements is that you can do a full body workout and isolate each muscle as you're going through the exercise, so you can get a effing adaptation. And then by the end of the week, you can come back and figure out how to get the next adaptation. Hello.
Years, it was the primary method everyone used. It came out of bodybuilding culture, from the magazines and everything else.
Look, if you were to get damaged on that one body part split and you come back, the muscles are adapted. I can't explain why, how is it doing it neurologically, whatever. It's adapted. There's no more adaptations, okay, dude? And you probably wouldn't come back to do any other body part, because whatever body part that you did there, if you did enough of it vigorously, you're going to be in so much pain, you're not going to want to lift for the next couple days. You understand, dude? So it's kind of worthless here, what you're doing. It's kind of messed up. See what I mean?
And actually it was quite successful. And then what we saw is that a lot of people did throwbacks back to really old school stuff. I was one of those people who promoted a lot of that stuff. A lot of the evidence-based world started looking at studies studies showing things like muscle protein synthesis return to normal within 48 hours of training. So
Yeah, what about muscle protein synthesis and it returning to normal? What about it, dude? If you don't have additional nuclei, you're not going to build any muscle. These cells are post-mitotic. They do not split and divide because you're lifting a weight like a lifting slave, bro. Get it?
they're like, look, if muscles are going to grow no more than 48 hours, then
And how are they going to grow more than 48 hours if there's no additional nuclei?
this is a concern, right? Then maybe we need to be training really, really frequently. And so everything kind of.
Look, Blaha is just fat. He's like, I'm getting lean. I'm looking like a bodybuilder, but look at his body. It's fat. He's fat. He's not building any muscle. He's just fat.
Delved into that direction with higher frequency training.
Okay, yeah.
Now, here's the problem with the latter, and then why the former still actually works really, really well. Keeping in mind, body part splits have a long track record of being successful.
Yeah, successful at what? Pumping glycogen in the muscle? You as an endurance athlete? He's crazy, man. Here's one thing I'll read to you. This is from NCBI, Genesis, Modulation, and Regeneration of Skeletal Muscle. That's how we build muscles. We regenerate them. Okay, growth, it says here underneath here, cited by 45. Growth in length depends on recruitment of more myoblasts into the existing myonucleated fibers, which increase the number of nuclei. Yeah, but nuclei are post-mitotic. Yeah, they're post-mitotic, dude. Look. Right there. Abstract. They are post-mitotic. They do not split and divide. See? Except nuclei, skeletal muscle fibers, myonuclei are post-mitotic. Are muscle cells post-mitotic? Post-mitotic. This is thought conventionally to be maintained by repair and regeneration by a population of stem cells like satellite cells. Yeah, because you adapted lifting. They don't split and divide and increase in number. See that? They do not split and divide and increase in number. If you don't understand that, I can't help you. Too bad. This is another one. Hold on a second. I'm going to go back here. It's modulation stuff. You could scroll through this. They'll tell you a bunch of stuff here. Myoblasts. How muscles are grown. Here. This is how muscles grow. The skeletal muscle fibers secrete myostatin to limit their own growth. They do. They limit their own growth by excreting that. But if the satellite cell is activated, they cannot occupy the same space. A muscle can grow in three ways. Its fibers can increase in number. Look, the fibers can increase in number. Isn't that hyperplasia? In length or in girth. Because skeletal muscle fibers are unable to divide. See, they're unable to divide. So if you're adapted and you're lifting in the gym and they're unable to divide, what exactly are you building there with this protein synthesis? See what I mean? More of them can be made only by the fusion of myoblasts. Okay, so how do you get the satellite cell to differentiate into myoblasts and fuse with the muscle fibers so you can get more muscle? How do you do that? They have to be damaged. No damage, no growth. And the adult number of myonucleated skeletal muscle fibers is in fact attained early. It is attained early. It is in your life, and then it ends at 15. Before birth in humans, once formed a skeletal muscle fiber generally survives for the entire lifetime of the animal. However, individual muscle nuclei can be added or lost. Thus, okay, so added just the nuclei alone, you would think this is artificial then. See what I mean? It's artificial. You have to maintain it. Now, personally, you can go through a repair and a remodeling. See what I mean? More damage. You are going to get nuclei. That's how you get nuclei through that damage. Some people don't get enough of it. They only ever get it in the beginning. They call it newbie gains or whatever, dude. I don't know, because they don't know what they're doing. Okay, so thus the enormous postnatal increase in muscle bulk is achieved by cell enlargement. Okay, the majority. Growth in length depends on recruitment of more myoblasts into the existing multinucleated fibers, which increases the number of nuclei in each cell. Okay, you want to increase the number of nuclei in each cell. Growth in girth, such as occurs in the muscles of weightlifters, involves both myoblast recruitment and an increase in the size of numbers of contractile myofibrils. Contractile myofibrils, we already know that. We get more sarcomere number in muscle fibers that each muscle fiber nucleus supports. So what then are the mechanisms that control muscle cell numbers and muscle cell size? One part of that answer lies in the extracellular signal protein called myostatin. Yeah. Mice with the loss of function mutation in the myostatin gene have enormous muscles. This is what they say. Mice with a loss of function mutation in the myostatin gene have enormous muscles, 2 or 3 times larger than normal, which weakens you. Both the numbers and the size of the muscle cells seem to be increased. Okay, mutations in the same gene turn out to be present in so-called double muscled breeds of cattle. Yeah, I would not disagree. I've seen that. In the selection for big muscles, cattle breeders have unwittingly selected for myostatin. They used to have this thing called ralgrow. They would inject it, or these pebbles, they would put them in these animals to grow them bigger. Ralgrow. I don't know. It's just, I think bodybuilders tried taking this ralgrow, injecting it in themselves. They're crazy. Doesn't work. In selection for big muscles, cattle breeders have, okay, whatever, normally may secreted skeletal muscle cells. Its function, evidently, it is provided negative feedback to limit muscle growth. Okay, some small amounts of protein can be detected in the circulation of adult humans. It has been reported that the amount is raised in AIDS patients who show muscle wasting. Thus, myostatin may act as a negative regulator of muscle growth in adult life, as well as during development and growth and some whatever organs. Yeah, it does a bunch of stuff. Look, so some myoblasts persist as quiescent stem cells in adults. Yeah, they are quiescent, and then they wake up. But what he's proposed, okay, right here. If muscle is damaged, these satellite cells are activated to proliferate, and their progeny can fuse to repair the damaged muscle. Satellite cells are thus the stem cells of adult skeletal muscle, normally held in reserve in quiescent state, but available when needed as a self-renewed source of terminally differentiated cells. Athletes who specialize in muscular strength often damage their muscle fibers. Often damage their muscle fibers? I don't know too many of them that often damage it. Want to know why they don't often damage it? And they complain they have only newbie gains? Well, I'll explain this. Damage their muscle fibers and are thought to depend on the mechanism for muscle repair, resulting in regenerated fibers, and are often highly branched. They do. I would agree that all of these athletes rely on this damage, but they're not getting it anymore. They're adapted to their exercises because they're stupid. Okay, the process, okay, way down here, over here. And then it tells you the satellite cell and skeletal muscle fiber, the specimen, okay. The process of muscle repair by means of satellite cells is nevertheless limited to what it can achieve in one form of muscular dystrophy, whatever. And then they talk about damage again here. Cells are damaged because of generic defect, whatever. But so to wake them up, you got to damage them. Okay, dude? So why is that? What's a unique feature of this thing? Okay. Hold on a second. Unique feature of... Oh yeah, hold on a second. Right there. This is NCBI. A unique feature of eccentric exercise is that untrained subjects become stiff and sore the day afterwards because of what? Damage to muscle fibers. So what's a unique feature of untrained muscles? They get damaged. Now, do trained muscles get damaged? Well, let's find out what happens to trained muscles, because Blaha says you're building muscles, okay? Well, look at these people. They're trained. They're coming in. They're trained. They're they're doing volume resistance training, high volume resistance training. Train young men. Oh, it's largely attributed to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Well, that isn't myofibular hypertrophy, now is it? What type of muscle? What type of hypertrophy is this? Ooh, what is this? Oh, I know. This is artificial muscle growth. Okay. See what I mean, man? And another thing is this. He's definitely not building any muscle because muscles have a myonuclear domain size limit, bro. Get it? See that? They've reached the ceiling limit during hypertrophic process beyond which extranuclei denoted by satellite cell dysmorphism muscle growth, broski. So I don't know what he's talking about, that you are building muscle all the time. 24/7, according to Blaha.
Right? But the idea that always was, well, it must be all the guys on gear. That's why it's coming out of the bodybuilding world, and that's why they're getting away with it. But plenty of naturals have gotten really jacked and really strong doing them.
No, they got really jacked by loading their muscles with glycogen, but they got really good at lifting the weight through the nervous system because they're adapted. They're adapting to lifting the weight. They're not adapting to more muscular, to more, more of these cellular muscular adaptations, whatever.
So here's the issue with the really high frequency training. As some of the best experts have kind of pointed out, some of those studies are actually a bit questionable, right? Those older studies that were showing that.
No, those aren't old studies. Those are new studies I'm bringing up. There's a lot of new stuff. You can look under the whole section PubMed under Eccentric stuff. They explain what gets this damage. They say unaccustomed, untrained, and unfamiliar. Are you unaccustomed? Are you untrained? Are you unfamiliar doing this? Are you doing vigor? Are you like overtraining the muscle like to the point where it could get fucking damaged? Like, like super high intensity and duration in that exercise? No. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Haven't always been replicated.
He lifts the same weights and he lifts every day, daily in this garage. So he's adapted.
Meaning we don't know that muscle.
I'm talking about muscular adaptations. He is adapted, so there's no muscular adaptations. Are there neurological adaptations here going on? Him lifting this fucking weight and everything and a bunch of other stuff going on there? Hormonal, chemical strength? Yeah, because he's adapting to just the lifting the weight now. He's separated the two.
Only grow up to 48 hours. In some cases, yes, it appears to be the case. We also saw some.
Muscles only grow 48 hours. They're not growing. They're just putting back what you lost there by lifting, going to work.
For 72 hours. But again, we come over to the point of does every muscle need to be growing all the time for us to see good muscle growth? Because
they're not growing because people do physical labor jobs. They go home and they eat to put back the protein. They may have increased the window for protein breakdown, so they go home and they eat. Now, if they don't eat enough, they start getting skinny. It happens to a lot of people. They show up on the job, they don't eat enough, they start getting skinny. I've seen some people, they start losing their hair. They don't eat properly. They may lose their hair, a bunch of stuff, their health, they get skinny. I've seen a lot of people like that because they don't eat enough after to replenish the loss in protein. So, are they building muscle? I haven't seen anybody build any muscle in factories, dude, other than get fat by eating a lot of crap.
That's the thing, the idea was, that must be it. We must need this muscle protein synthesis around the clock for those muscles to grow. And that's just simply not the case, okay, for a number of...
Yeah, I would not disagree. They're not going to grow. Look at his skinny arms here. Look how skinny his arms are. He's got the smallest arms in the world. He's got the smallest forearms. He has no muscle growth whatsoever, Blaha. Zero.
Reasons, and what people aren't thinking about is the simple fact that
at Bet365, we're all about
it may not be that good a growth, because what ends up happening is we have to deal with two things. Number one, we deal with the fact that if you're doing the same amount of training volume, you're also stimulating way less. So let's say you come in and you train a muscle 2 times a week, 3 times a week. You may be stimulating it with less volume, so you're just getting less growth out of that workout. Now, some people say, yeah, but you're gonna be more recovered, you'll move more weight and everything, but do you really? Are you sure about that? I don't think that's always the case, number one, because you also may not be fully recovered by the time. That's been one of the problems too. We're also oftentimes seeing that those muscles are not always fully recovered by that next session, in which case we're not
What was that? He put his head up in the air. Looked funny.
getting the best stimulus, right? The other thing is, when we start looking at those studies, we start finding that they don't actually grow anymore. So in spite of that, all the evidence shows that the people are just simply not growing any faster because they're doing
You're not growing anymore because you're not getting any adaptations. Muscular adaptations aren't based on being adapted to lifting weight.
it, at least not to any substantial degree, or at least not consistently. You'll occasionally get some data showing it does, and you'll get one showing it.
How muscles adapt and how your nervous system adapts to lifting a weight are two different modalities. This is stupid. You can't correlate lifting with muscular adaptations. Doesn't work that way, dude.
It doesn't, then one with less growth. So that's the problem. There's no consistency on that evidence. So it's a nice hypothesis, but we don't get any consistency. Okay, we don't get any consistency whatsoever, and that creates a problem for that even being an evidence-based approach. Okay, so that's one thing to think about. The other thing to think.
The best was this: when I started moving for adaptations in the gym that I was going to at the time. It was Bally's. I was going to Bally's in TO. I was going to Bally's in TO. I just came back from Chicago, I remember, and then I started moving for these adaptations. Okay, and I remember these people. I got big. Really, it happens quickly, the adaptation process, because every week you're coming in, you're shooting for an adaptation. So you're going to start getting bigger and bigger and stronger. You're going to get bigger and stronger, bigger and stronger. That's the whole purpose behind muscular adaptations. So right away, the people are like, that's because he does those heavy squats. So they go over there to the Smith machine. They try doing heavy squats. And then another guy's like, oh, but that's because he takes a whole week off, right? You know what I mean? But then they forgot. They don't see what I'm doing outside of the gym. I would run down to the buffet after my workout, and I would eat for hours down there. Yeah, that's what I did. You understand me? Because you're damaged right now. I moved for an adaptation. I'm damaged. I'm getting an adaptation. So I need to go down there and I need to eat a lot. So that's part of the process. So when they say that's because he does the heavy squat, that's because he takes a week off, and then they miss the other part, going down to the buffet and eating a lot of shitloads of protein for hours. Yeah, that is the process, the adaptation process. I wouldn't say it was the heavy squats that were building my body. They're stupid to believe that. I would definitely say I got an adaptation because I would come in once a week and I would do a full body workout. And then I'd go down to the buffet and I'd eat. So yeah, they were trying to figure it out because because they saw me. I only worked out Saturday and Sunday. I did upper body on Saturday and I do lower body on Sunday, and I wouldn't come back the rest of the week. Now, they knew I wasn't there because they were lifting slaves. They came and they worked out the whole week. That's why eventually they saw me coming all the time on a Saturday and Sunday working out, getting bigger and stronger. I was getting bigger and getting stronger. And they were like, that's because he does those heavy squats. Oh, that's because he takes a whole week off. Yeah. See what I mean? They tried putting two and two together. They couldn't really figure it out.
Think about is really, are we even recovering session to session if we do it? And are we getting overuse issues? And this is something I've had to note the older I've gotten as a lifter, and then seeing other lifters I've known over the decades who did only do muscles once a week. They only bench once a week, squat once a week, curl.
Yeah, once a week. Once a week is enough.
Once a week. Who
But it depends. You can come in once a week and lift and literally get no damage because that's not your focus. See what I mean? You're still adapted to these weights and everything what you're lifting. So you may just come in and just lift like a lazy lift and do a lazy workout and you won't get any damage. You have to focus on getting those muscles to damage in that exercise coming back that following week. See what I mean? That's the difference. You have to focus on getting them damaged. So when you're going through your workout, that your whole aim and focus is to damage those muscle fibers, to overwork them with intensity and duration. When you come in there that week, you need to focus on intensity and duration to get them damaged.
have low injury rates and they still continue to make gains into their 40s, into their 50s.
Why are they getting injuries? What are you talking about? Why are they getting injuries? Because they're weak. They're making gains into their 40s and 50s. I can make gains in my 60s if I get an adaptation. I'm not going to get any gains if I keep lifting in the gym, but I can get gains lifting in the gym frequently if I eat a lot of carbohydrates. Because people will write in the comment section, if you want to get big, eat a lot of carbohydrates. If you want to get big and fat, eat a lot of carbohydrates. Yeah, and go to the gym and lift. Like Blaha, he eats carbs, Blaha, and he lifts. See that? He eats carbs and he lifts a lot. So what is he? What does he have there? Nothing. Just some puffy muscles with some inflammation.
Okay?
Look,
and they're beat up less. And this
that's concentric. That's concentric. He's throwing the weight up in the air. He's literally throwing it. He's like, I'm throwing. See what I mean? Why doesn't he just drive it up slowly and bring it down slowly? Why does he have to throw it?
is something that I have noticed personally since I switched to that
Clump, 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 clump. There's nothing really going on here. There's nothing going on in this exercise. It's stupid.
style of training, because I've run clients on it for years, by the way. I've had plenty of clients who literally did 3.
I've seen many people do this. They throw that weight up and down. They use their elbows. Their arms are bending, so you're using your arm. You're not using your back muscles. If you were using your back muscles, then your back and shoulders would pull backward against the scapula there. They would pull backward. But because he's bending his arm in, it's his arm exercise. Watch.
Push pull like that.
Look at the arms. And then he's squeezing his trap area. He's trying to squeeze it, but he's not really squeezing it. You see what I mean? Because to squeeze it would be like keeping the weight down and using your trap area to squeeze the weight, right? You use your traps to squeeze it and not your arms to lift. Look at this. This is stupid.
Done it a really long time. So it's something that I've had a lot of success with clients, but when I started doing it personally.
The thing is this, if eccentric exercises are the main focus of getting this damage and adaptation, getting this damage, then that should be the focus of your training, the majority of your training, if that's what you're shooting for.
One of the things I noticed is joints and tendons feel better. Meaning, since I started training that way personally,
he's wearing out his joints and tendons. He's wearing them out. He's not regenerating them. If you're lifting often, you are wearing them out. You're not regenerating them. Like Mike O'Hearn, he's a lifting slave. Mike O'Hearn doesn't know how to lift. He doesn't know how to exercise. Doesn't know anything. He's already worn out his joints. That's why he's going for stem cell therapy. They're injecting his knees. They're injecting his knees, his arms, everywhere. They're injecting him even in the spine. Larry Wheels, everybody. They're getting stem cell therapy in their joints because they're worn out. Any athletic person, if you are getting that, that means you don't know what you're doing. Because no athlete should have worn out joints or anything. See what I mean? He's a lifting slave.
I don't ever get joint pain. I can't think of a single time I've had a shoulder joint.
I don't believe Blaha. He's a liar. He's been injured so many times. In all his videos, he used to say how many times he's been injured.
Or a hip joint.
And he's had tendonitis and a bunch of stuff.
Or an elbow joint or anything even get inflamed. Okay? It just stopped. But when I'm benching heavy,
they're not getting inflamed. You're lifting and getting inflammation everywhere in your body. What are you talking about?
Twice a week. See where I'm going? Trying to do heavy pull-ups twice a week or heavy squats twice a week.
Why do you think people hate physically demanding jobs? They get inflamed. They get inflammation in their body when they go home. They hate that. They hate that feeling. It sucks for them. But these lifting slaves, they tend to love it.
Especially heavy deadlifts, joints start to hurt. Okay, so this is something that we have to think about too, because all the evidence is showing, muscle growth doesn't really seem to be different. So that theoretical
Did you see his gut hanging there? The skin.
advantage
Skin's hanging. He's hiding it under his pants now. He's tucked it.
doesn't appear to be there. People have gotten absolutely phenomenal results while doing it, right? Phenomenal results doing it for decades.
Yeah, sure.
With no problems. I've continued to make progress doing it. I mean, look how much.
That's why they take steroids, because they're making phenomenal progress, Blaha. That's why everybody wants to take steroids and are taking steroids, yes.
I've improved, even though I have a strength training background. I've switched over to physique stuff.
Yes.
I'm looking better week to week all the time. People are noticing it.
Of course, that's why you're taking TRT. You say you're taking steroids because you're making phenomenal progress as a natural. You are making phenomenal progress, dude.
But I've been training in this manner
Yeah.
at the age of 47, closing in on 48. I've been training like this, and I've been making progress.
I rarely train, and I look like a bodybuilder. I walk around. I rarely train. Even come sometimes to the gym just to make a video of myself in the mirror. I don't even come in to train at all. I just videotape myself, and I leave, and I say I'm going to the buffet.
getting leaner, getting bigger. So it clearly works.
Where innovation meets the skies. A growing hub for aerospace design and
They're getting bigger. So it clearly works.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the other thing. When we start looking at the other end of it,
Yeah.
we start looking at the other end of it, what do we find? Man, just recovery on the structures of your body is easier. That's been my experience. And so here's the other end of the equation. People can argue, well, maybe there might be a slight muscle protein synthesis advantage to the other. Okay, we don't have evidence there is because we're not seeing it. But even if there is, you're less beat up. And if you're less beat up, you can train harder. Because it's not just the muscle tissue. And again, when we're going to talk about the long game under the barbell, which is what I promote, we're talking about joints, we're talking about tendons. Well, if those things hurt, if those things are getting injured easier, what's the setback in your muscle growth on that? What's the impact on your quality of life? Okay, this is kind of a big deal. So there's a lot more to it. Everyone wants to look at this one single factor. Well, is it muscle protein synthesis? Okay, but it's not really panning out into more growth when it's being looked at.
Yes, is there protein synthesis? Not panning out to more growth, guys. So what are you doing there? You've enslaved yourself to something. There's no more growth.
But what it does do, and we get away with it when you're younger, but over time it is harder. It beats you up more. And it's just like I've said, all these power lifters, for example, who did the really high frequency, high specificity benching 4 times a week, how many of them are no longer in the game? How many influencers who train that way can't even power lift or lift heavy anymore? Yet, look at me right here.
Yes, now that we're the trend twins eating donuts and cookies all day, taking drugs, we should go and lift a heavy weight at the competition, the fake competition called powerlifting. Let's see how much we can lift on these drugs and destroy ourselves.
Doing flat
Oh, oops, Mikey already destroyed himself. He tore his pec. Okay.
benching with 315.
That's just the beginning. Wait till later down the road. They're going to fall apart completely.
For rep work. It's an old man. And some of those guys can't even bench.
They don't realize how toxic steroids are. The toxicity goes into the muscle. That toxicity destroys your muscle over time. It weakens you. That's why when these people come off steroids, they're like a bag of bones. They're like a bag of garbage. They're completely falling apart.
Anymore. What does this tell us about the high frequency?
Yeah, high frequency, okay.
All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope.
Thank God. High frequency. He looks ridiculous there. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Don't you think about that, like, subscribe, support the channel. See you in the next video.